Yeah, this series is over. This series is done. Mavs and Timberwolves. The Mavs just beat the Timberwolves to gain a 3-0 lead. Um, there's many reasons for this loss. And there's many reasons for all three of these losses, but this series is over. Okay? Uh, the series is done. There's nothing else you could do. There has been no team. There have been 10 teams to be up 3-0 in the playoffs. They have a 100% win rate. I don't think the duo of Kyrie and Luka Doncic becomes the 1 and 10 and 1. Um, let's just break this game down. Now I missed a lot of the half, so let's just break this game down. From the stuff I did see and the stats that I did see, I definitely was tuned into the second half until like late fourth quarter. No, I was tuned into the second half until midway fourth quarter. I had some personal issues to attend to, and I did see the ending final 5 minutes of the fourth quarter after missing the first a little chunk in the beginning. But by the first half, Carl Anthony Towns, he is debatably the story of this game because him the reason why Cat needs to step up is because if Cat doesn't step up, then Anthony Edwards isn't going to get the scoring opportunities he needs to be. Now, Mike Conley is who you want facilitating the ball, but when you need a bucket, you need to go to Anthony Edwards. And the only way Ant doesn't get hit with a double team every time he steps beyond the half court mark or even when he comes up on the arc of the 3-point line is if Cat is doing his job. You are the biggest guy on the court. You need to be taking over in the paint, forcing them to double team you in the paint to get your main guy open looks. And that's what was the best part about the Timberwolves is the fact that they weren't so all up in egos. They weren't so all up in egos in the fact that we know who our top guys are. We know what our roles are, whether it be Nas Reed, Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards. We understand this man, Anthony Edwards, is the best player on the team, and he's the youngest player on the team, and I believe so. And he needs to be the one to step up and take the mantle. We know Karl Anthony Towns is the second best player on our team. At times can be the best player on the court and needs to do his job well for us to succeed. And the rest of us role players will carry our mantle and do what we can do. Right now, currently, this entire loss is on the two biggest stars. So Cat is three from by the first quarter. I believe he's been 3 from 19 the entire series. That is way too many attempts in 3 games for somebody of his size and his caliber. I understand that Cat is can shoot the ball. He can shoot the ball, but what is going to lead you and your team to wins? And that's all that matters. And so instead of working on making something become your strength, you need to focus on the thing that is your strength by nature. And that's just being dominant in an area that the other team is lacking. The Mavs don't have a big guy who can stop Cat. They just don't. Cat played great defense against Jokic, the best player in the world. I don't know if you want to throw Luka in that conversation. We'll get to him in a minute. But again, Karl Anthony Towns was able to play amazing defense and trouble Jokic on the offensive end by troubling him inside the post. Forcing Jokic to play defense is exactly what got the Timberwolves into the Western Conference Finals. And what does he do? Instead of continuing to be that dominant presence inside the paint, and I'm not saying he wasn't shooting the 3 ball before, but he's chucking up 3-pointers. I forgot the stat line. I rushed to make this video because they're up 3-0 and I don't want too much time to pass on. But Cat, I think 20, 25, 28 are the total 3-pointers, I think, by the end of the game. I believe he was 0 for 8 by either the half or the end of the game. I think the end of the game from 3. That's ridiculous. You're 7 foot. I'm not saying that there aren't bigs who can shoot. There aren't bigs who can. If you're feeling it that night, That's great. But once the first four, once the first three, once the first three don't hit, you need to start saying, okay, let me get to the line a lot more. Let me draw contact more. If my shot comes in later in the game, it does. If it doesn't, let's keep on doing what's going to make us win. Right now, if you're Karl Anthony Towns, you want to be a threat in the post so that Anthony Edwards can get looks. You want Anthony Edwards to be the one getting isolations. How do you do that? How do you have Anthony Edwards? You want Mike Conley facilitating. You want Anthony Edwards getting ISO looks. And you want Karl Anthony Towns being a threat in the post. And the key to all that happening starts with Cat. Because if Cat isn't dominant in the paint, they're just going to double Ant every time he comes out the half court mark. It's that simple. And that's what the Mavs have been doing this whole series. Is making sure Anthony Edwards understands we have defensive pressure on you. We're not going to let up. McDaniels is playing amazing defense on Anthony Edwards. He's not scoring a lot when McDaniels was on him. By the end of the first half, and they did start to come back. They did take the lead at one point. But by the end of the first half, Ant is 4 of 11 with 12 points. 4 of those 12 points came off free throws. What are we doing? Karl Anthony Towns, by the end of the first half, he's 0 for 5. So he was 0 for 8 from 3 throughout the entire game. So he's 0 for 5 in the first half. What are we doing? I mean, come on. At the end of the game, Anthony Edwards talked about, in the press conference, he talked about foul trouble and how they shot more free throws than him. By the end of the third quarter, it's 8-minute 56 to go in the third. Mike Conley has 4 fouls. Now, I do agree that the refs were tripping this game. Really the whole series, but this game. But, bro, 4 fouls in the third. And then Ant would go on. They were going like a little 10-point run. Ant would score out of the 10 points. But eventually they get back in the game in the third. And there was a poster that Ant had that I got up on my seat for. And then all of a sudden, they just start making these bad plays, and the Mavs start capitalizing. Turnovers, fouls. I mean, you can say what you want about the fouls, but there's no excuse for some of those turnovers. Anthony Edwards had some horrible shot selection in the fourth, was careless with the ball. There was a scramble that they had for the ball. Just him being careless and not knowing how to play make. Again, when your team is already in foul trouble and your point guard isn't facilitating, Matt Conley wasn't facilitating the way that he should have been. Anthony Edwards clearly is not a facilitator. And Cat isn't doing his job. This whole team has fallen apart. And now the question is can you at least get one win and not get swept? Because this series is over. Whether you like it or not, the series is over. There's nothing they can do. I think at this point, we need to start looking at Celtics versus Mavs. Amazing performance, again in the clutch by Luka and Kyrie. They didn't even have one of their best of games, but they stepped up when it mattered. And I think that's the difference between Kyrie and Luka and Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns. There's not much to cover. That's it. This series is over. If I'm the Timberwolves, I'm looking to get another big in the offseason, trading away as minimal as possible. And even if we don't, I'm fine. You want to build up this core. You want to build up this team. I do see this team making more deep playoff runs. And I think that they can add a few more defensive pieces to this team to even make them more of a threat defensively, because I think that is what they're lacking on is defense. Luke and Kyrie are just having their way. They'll be a much more of a threat. But right now, the series is over. There's nothing else to say. Next episode, we're just going to be talking about Celtics and Mavs because this series is done. It's that simple.